Okay, you guys, so today is gonna be a passionate video for me, which I'm super excited about, but let's just pray that I don't bust a vein in the process. So, today we're talking about stay at home wife TikTokers, or trad wife influencers is another thing that they're called frequently online. Yeah, I don't like them. And it's not that I don't like them because they're stay at home wives, which they're not. So never believe it when you see an influencer tell you that they're a stay at home wife because they're not a stay at home wife. If they were a stay at home wife, they wouldn't have a job. Now, you might be thinking, well, they don't have a job. Their entire content is about them not having a job, but they do. There's a lot of discourse on whether being an influencer is a job or not. And we could sit there and have that discourse all day long, but at the end of the day, she's laughing her way to the bank because being an influencer is a job. And it's a very lucrative job. And that's what they're not telling you. They're selling you the image of being this early 1900s housewife while working, while also hating on feminism a lot of the time because they think that working and making money and having a say in your household is threatening to your husband's masculinity. To which I say, if your husband finds you having a backbone, intimidating or dangerous his masculinity, he was a weak man to begin with. So let's just really get into why I have a major problem with this content. So, we all know this, my hair. We all know this, but social media is a pretend make believe world where anybody can get online and sell you any image that they want to sell you while doing the exact opposite. There are real life consequences to social media, and a lot of the times, influencers' audiences are the ones who feel those consequences, where the influencer doesn't always see those consequences, therefore, does not give a damn about those consequences. So, these women who are trad wives hating on feminism, telling you that you should not work, that you should just dedicate your time to being a homemaker, do not have your best interests at heart. And if anything, they actually want you to suffer. Yeah, I know that sounds kind of crazy and that sounds like really malicious, but the truth is, they're never going to tell you that their job is social media, that they make a lot of money from social media because they see you as competition if you were to try to jump on that bandwagon and do the same thing as them. Especially nowadays with the fact that anybody can blow up just overnight. They don't want you making content. They want you to stay home and not work and be financially dependent on somebody else while you look up to her and talk about how she's living the life that you want to live and that this is how women should live their life and she is the epitome of a feminine woman. But the crazy part is she probably makes a lot more money than her husband. Not very feminine, right? Feminine. So that's the real issue that I have with this content. It is so dishonest and it's literally telling you to be weak. Especially, like, oh my god, I don't know if you guys have seen people say this, but they're talking about how they don't think that women should vote. Yep, a lot of them do. A lot of these trad wife content creators fall into that belief line, which is really not surprising. They tell women that if you want to be seen as a princess, you don't even speak in public. You let your husband do all the speaking for you, which I think is mind blowing. You're telling women to do things that actually end up making them look like abuse victims, all while glorifying that and saying that that's how you actually look like a princess. Crazy. And this is the other crazy part is you're so adamant on not speaking in public. For example, when a waitress or a hostess at a restaurant speaks to you, but then you're running your mouth on TikTok teaching women these really damaging, toxic things that tells women to be financially dependent on a man and not have that freedom for yourself. To basically be a docile, weak woman. Yes, I am going there. Do you want to know what trad wives back in the day did to be able to maintain their lifestyle and maintain those appearance? They were on drugs. Yeah, they were doing drugs to be able to maintain what they were supposed to do by the public. Do you want to know what else that they used to do to keep women to be malleable and docile? Lobotomies. And surprise, surprise, these women tend to a lot of times also be against divorces. So when you combine all those things into one big nice pot, which is a stay-at-home trad wife where they don't have rights, you bash feminism, which actually gave you the right to be yapping your bullshit on TikTok. And this is like, I call this bullshit because this is something that I feel like is actually so damaging and dangerous. So I really caution girls from romanticizing that kind of lifestyle and thinking that it's all sunshine and rainbows, because if your husband turns out to not be the guy that you thought he was, well, now you're screwed. Where are you gonna go? Where's your freedom? We live in a world that is run by money. I hate to say it. I'm sorry. It's a painful reality, but without money, you literally cannot do anything. You literally cannot go anywhere. You want some real life advice? I'm going to tell you some real life advice on how to get financial independence. If you want a sort of cheat code, I mean, there's nothing in life that's really like a fast track cheat code to getting rich, unless you do get lucky and blow up on social media, but for not everybody wants to do that. So I want to tell you right now, get your LPN, become a nurse. Nursing is the only like traditional career where you get to choose how much school and how much time you invest in it, but no matter how much or how little you want to invest into that schooling and career, you'll never be broke. You'll always have financial security, and that is something that these women will never teach you to have, financial security. Those women though, they got financial security because they're making sweet paychecks from TikTok. So while we're sitting here talking about how they don't teach like women good values, or you're complaining that influencing is not a real job, well, guess what? It is a real job. Anything that you put time and energy into is work. Anything that you get paid from is a job. So they're spending their time creating that content, but not thinking about how it's actually negatively affecting you. We have to kind of like disillusion ourselves with social media a little bit better, because we have to remember, right? We see these TikToks and we kind of forget that behind that TikTok, there's work that goes into it. So somebody setting up the camera, somebody planning out the content, somebody getting ready to film the content, because nobody just like turns on the camera and looks like a 10 out of 10. You get what I'm saying? There is methods and there are thoughts put behind those TikToks. We're not just like seeing a random zap into somebody's life without them knowing. They know what we're seeing and they're not stupid. They benefit from telling you how to live your life, and they benefit from selling you an image that makes you wish you were them. At the end of the day, social media is always going to be about sensationalism, right? And a lot of these influencers are not going to care about what their fake advice is going to do to your life. I personally could never feel comfortable advocating for something that I personally would not do. And I don't know, it just disturbs me because they're framing their treatment as being treated like a princess, but in reality, they're prisoners. They're prisoners to their husbands, they're prisoners to their own crazy ideology that tells you to shrink yourself to fit in with a man. It's giving pick me. That's just how I feel. I don't really think that people realize all the dark sides of being a stay-at-home wife with no education, right? Look, I love a good provider man. Get you a provider man. That's the dream for all women, right? I'm not saying that that is a bad thing, but I'm saying that you need that along with your own education and your ability to work should you need to. If you have to get away, you can get away. That's the good thing about feminism that I just don't understand why everybody hates it so much. Like, without feminism, you would not have any options. You would be forced to live in this tiny little box, and you wouldn't even have the options to go tell other women how to live their life because you wouldn't be allowed to speak in public. So you guys are picking these like good little things from feminism while simultaneously hating it. I'm not saying that you have to like everything about feminism. I have my own things that I don't like about feminism, but I'm very self-aware of that. And I'm very self-aware of that because, once again, I think that this whole like stay-at-home thing is a really new exploding thing in a lot of Western cultures, where I come from a background where that is the norm. That is a societal norm for wives to stay at home. So much so that it was only when I went to like middle school, maybe, did I realize that some people had moms that worked. Like, I'd never heard of a mom that worked. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and there were nice things about it. Like, I liked that, like, I would be able to go to the doctor, like, anytime I was sick. Like, I didn't have to wait till she came home from work. But I would say more bad than good came out of that. And actually, the first person that ever told me to never rely on a man for their money was my mom. Yeah. And as soon as my mom kind of broke out of that cultural thing of a woman not working, she got a job, and she still works that same job because she can. She has that choice now. So again, I don't have a problem with women that choose to be stay-at-home moms, but I have a problem with influencers who make a lot of money are advocating for women to follow that kind of ancient lifestyle. And a big part of it really bothers me too, because it's coming from like a purity culture standpoint, and you already know how I feel about purity culture if you watched my video about purity culture. It disgusts me in every way, shape, and form. So that's what bothers me about that content. But again, like, if you are an average person and you have the means to be able to be a stay-at-home wife, by all means go do it, but make sure that you have a backup plan. And people can't handle hearing that, because people are like, oh, you're saying that my husband's gonna cheat on me or my husband's gonna divorce me. I'm not saying that. You're jumping to that conclusion. Anything could happen, though. Your husband something bad might happen to your husband and they might not be able to work. Or maybe they will suck, and maybe you do need to leave. Have something to fall back on. You're not less feminine because you're smart and you actually know how to survive without a man. These women they're criticizing themselves, but they don't even see it, because even they probably don't really see TikTok and influencing as a real job, but it really is. And remember that you're seeing such a glamorous side, and you're seeing the beautiful parts of being a stay-at-home wife, because it is typically very wealthy women who would even get into this type of content. Like, I did not grow up wealthy, like, whatsoever. So you would never see, if TikTok existed when my mom was young, you would never see her picking up that camera and making that type of content, because one, it was just so normal, it wasn't aspirational, and it wasn't romantic. There was nothing exciting about it. There was nothing like, oh my god, it's so dainty, and you just wear these pretty little dresses, and your makeup is always done, and your hair looks fabulous every single day, and you're just choosing to bake bread. No, like, when that's a cultural norm and you don't have a choice, there is nothing romantic about it. So stop falling for this propaganda. It actually like really hurts me when I see women my age and a lot younger too talking about the fact that they actually don't have any aspirations in life besides being a stay-at-home wife or a stay-at-home girlfriend. And at least if you're a stay-at-home wife, you're a wife. You definitely get something out of it should anything go wrong with your husband. But like, when you're a stay-at-home girlfriend, I made a video about stay-at-home girlfriends. Watch that if you are interested in hearing what I have to say about stay-at-home girlfriends. But like, okay, a stay-at-home wife is definitely a step up from a stay-at-home girlfriend, but still, don't listen to this content that tells you that you are less feminine if you have a job or if you make money. And also, don't believe women that tell you to never give a man money or to never help a man with their bills, because once again, people say things for the sake of sensationalism on social media, and we're all just eating that shit up. And then we realize that, okay, have you guys watched this Secret Lives of Mormon Wives? I really like that show because I feel like that show, I'm pretty sure Mormons are really similar to my cultural background, where it's not normal for a woman to work, and if they do work, it's definitely not normal for her to make more than her husband. Where that show really showcases how much money you actually make on social media, and the fact that they are married women, and that I think all of those women made more money than their husbands. All I'm saying is they're ballin'. And the next time you hear a woman say, oh, that's why I brought it up, because I was saying that they tell you never to give a man money, and then you always find out later that they do help with the bills. It never fails. All of these girls who put out these extremes online and say never do this for a man, never do that for a man, because you're supposed to be this dainty little princess who cannot do anything, who shouldn't even vote. And then the next thing you know, you find out they're making way more money and they bought the house with her money. And then you just feel like an idiot because you're wondering why you can't find a man like their husband, the one that they're telling you you need to marry a man like, and then in reality, what they're telling you their husbands are like doesn't even exist. So, there you have it. That's pretty much all I have to say about stay-at-home wife content. Honestly, it's my least favorite genre in the entire universe on TikTok in terms of like femininity. I feel like this video was a little bit more ranty than my usual ones, but if you did like this video, please consider subscribing, give it a like, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys.